ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ನನ್ನ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಕಥೆಯ ಒಂದು ಅಮೋಘ ಗಳಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ಕನ್ನಡ ಚಿತ್ರರಂಗದ ಒಬ್ಬ ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರನ್ನ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. KM ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಅವರು, ಆ ದಿನಗಳು ಖ್ಯಾತಿಯ KM ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಅವರು. ಅದೃಷ್ಟವಶಾತ್ ಅವರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಆಯಿತು ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು 6 ತಿಂಗಳ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ. ಅಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬ ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರನ್ನ ಪರಿಚಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದೆ ನನ್ನ ಭಾಗ್ಯ. ಬನ್ನಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಸೋಣ, ಏನಂತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳೋಣ ಬನ್ನಿ. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಏನೋ ನನ್ನ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಕಥೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಚಾನಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಟುಡೇ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಮೃತಗಳಿಗೆ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೇಜರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಜರ್ನಿ ವೆರ್ ನಾನು ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಯುವರ್ ಗೈಡೆನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೋ ಐ ಡಿಡ್. So I call this episode as Masterclass with Chaitanya. Okay. So ಹಾಗೆ, is budget first or the script first?
Script first. ರೈಟ್. ನಾನು ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದು ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಏನಂದರೆ ಯೋಚನೆಗೆ ಬಡತನ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಡತನ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೇ ಬಡತನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ವಿ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ವೆನ್ ಯು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಟು think without any budgetary constraints. Once you finish the entire script, then you start cutting it down. See, I'll give you an example. ನಾವು ಆಟಗಾರ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಲೂಸಿಯಾ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. then Pawan had done the impossible. He had done a movie in 50 lakhs, which is a great movie and it got great appreciation and all those things are one aspect. But you know how an industry perceives it, right? So there are two ways of how they perceive it. So one chunk of producers started looking around for films that can be made in 50 lakhs. What he made was not important. 50 lakhs cinema ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹುಡುಕೋಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಕತೆ ಇತ್ತು. ನನಗೆ ಕಣ್ಣನ್ ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಹೇಳಿದ ಕತೆ 50ರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, 75ರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಯಿತು 75ರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತಂದರು. ನಾನು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡೆ, ನಾನು ಮತ್ತು ಕಣ್ಣನ್ ರೈಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಅದು ಕತೆ ಏನಂದರೆ 10 ಜನ ಒಂದು ದ್ವೀಪಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ದ್ವೀಪದಲ್ಲೇ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಒಳಗೆ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಥರದ ಕತೆ. ನಾನು ಒಂದು 10 ಜನ ಹೊಸ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ರ್ಗಳನ್ನ ರಂಗಭೂಮಿಯಿಂದ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ಯಾರು ಒಬ್ಬರು ಒಂದು ಲೊಕೇಶನ್ನ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಗ್ಬೋರೋ ಸ್ಟೀಲಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, 75 ಲಕ್ಷದೊಳಗೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗೋದು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ಅಫೋರ್ಡ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಬರಿತಾ ಏನಾಯಿತು, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರುವಾಯಿತು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ವಿ ವೆಂಟ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಡ್, ಸರ್ 75 ಲಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 50 ಲಕ್ಷ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ವಿ ನೀಡ್ 1.25 ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್, ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇಟ್? ಅವರು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಅದೇನು ಮಾಡಿದಿರೋ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ನ ಅದನ್ನ 75 ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಅಂತ. ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಇದನ್ನು ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ. ಆಗ ನನ್ನ ರೈಟರ್ ಕಣ್ಣನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ದ, ಯಾಕೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನಾವು ಯಾಕೆ 75 ಲಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು 75 ಲಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಕತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಹುಡ್ಕೋಣ, ಯಾರೋ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರು ಇರ್ಬೋದು ನಮಗೆ 1.25 ಕೋಟಿ ಕೊಡೋವಂಥವ್ರು. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, 10 ಜನ ಹೊಸಬ್ರನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋದಾಗ ಸ್ಯಾಟಲೈಟ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾರಾಟ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ, ಆಮೇಲೆ OTT ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ, ಸಿನಿಮಾಗೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಸಿಟಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೊಸಬ್ರನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾರು ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ ನಮಗೆ 1.25 ಕೋಟಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ನಾನು ಯೋಗೀಶ್ ದ್ವಾರಕೀಶ್ ನನಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಯೋಗೀಶ್ ದ್ವಾರಕೀಶ್ ಟಿಪಿಕಲ್ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ನೆವರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್. ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಾ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡೋಣ, ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಏನಂತೆ ಅಂತ. ನಾವು ಹೋದ್ವಿ, ಯೋಗೀಶ್ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋದ್ವಿ, ಹಿಂಗಿದೆ ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಕತೆ ಇದೆ, 1.25 ಕೋಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ನರೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ರೆಡಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಗೋವಾಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ದಾರಿಲಿ ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ರೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ, ಆ ಕಣ್ಣನ ಮನೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ RT ನಗರದಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಬರ್ತೀನಿ, ಬಂದ ದಾರಿಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಆ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾನು ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಟೆಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡೌಟ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರು ಇವ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಓದ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೊಡೋಣ. ಅವ್ರ ಕೈಗೆ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ವಿ, ಇಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಗೋವಾಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ನಾನು ಓದಿದೆ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟು, ಫ್ಲೈಟಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿ ಮುಗಿಸಿದೆ, ಐ ಲವ್ ಇಟ್, ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದು ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತಂದು. ನಮಗೆ ವಿ ವರ್ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ. ಬಂದರು ವಾಪಸ್. ಬಂದಾಗ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಸೊ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿದ್ರೆ, ಏನು ಕತೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ 1.25 ಕೋಟಿ ಕೊಡಿ ಸಾಕು, ನಾವು ಈ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅವ್ರು ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಏನಾಯಿತು, 1.25 ಕೋಟಿನ? ಹೌದು, ಅದು ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ, ಬಟ್ 1.25 ಕೋಟಿ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ನಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ತಲೆಗೆಲೆ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಈ ಥರ ಕಥೆನ 1.25 ಕೋಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಹಾಳಾಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 3.5 to 4 crores ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಸ್. ಹೊಸಬ್ರು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಈ ಥರ ಕತೆ, ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಶೂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾವಿಶ್ಲಿ. ಆವಾಗಲೇ ಈ ಥರ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದು, ಜನ ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡೋದು. ಹೊಸಬ್ರನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ, 10 ಜನ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ನ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಚಿರುಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ, ಚಿರು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಂಥ ಕಥೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಚಿರು ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು, ಅನುಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಇದ್ರು, ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಬೆಲ್ವಾಡಿ ಇದ್ರು, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಹಿಟ್. ದ ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಡಿಡ್ ಇಟ್ ರಿಕವರ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಬಸ್ಟರ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್. ನಾವು ಹೆಂಗೋ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ 75 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಡೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೆಂಗೋ ಮಾಡೋದಂದ್ರೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಆಗಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಯಾವ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಯಾವ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅದು ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಬ್ಬ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಇದ್ದವರು ಕಥೆನ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಇದ್ದವನು ಅದರ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ನ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಆ ಕಂಫರ್ಟ್ ಝೋನ್ ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಲಕ್ಕಿ, ನನಗೆ ಯೋಗೀಶ್ ಥರದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದು. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ.
ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಸಮಬಡಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೀ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಎ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ, ಈಗ ನಾನು ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ನಾವು ಬಾಡಿ ಆಫ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಬ್ಬರ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಬೆಟರ್ ಅಂತೀರಾ, ಅಥವಾ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್ ಎನಿ ಅದರ್ ವೇಸ್? ಈವನ್ ನಾವು say somebody like me who is a 40-year-old, 42-year-old who wants to come back to the industry and do something in it ಅನ್ನೋರಿಗೆ do you recommend ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಾಡಿ, then you get featured in the industry or try to come to the industry, or would you recommend even now go and do some course or some kind of a formal education and then enter the industry? ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೂಟ್, ಅಥವಾ do you have any other advice for somebody like me?
From my personal experience, I think the greatest learning is on the job. So I did a course. I did an MA in communication where film studies was part of the course. So I got exposed to a lot of world cinema theory ella. Adru my greatest learning was when I started working with Girish Karnal. 3 years of working with him, and out of that the most interesting learning was in the editing table. So shooting is a little glamorous. There are actors, there's activity happening, the people. Shoot admale, the boring job is actually editing, where you see how each shot that is taken is getting meaning on the edit, because film is pornsadu. You join and juxtapose and make meaning out of shots. And in that joining and juxtaposing, you can create different kinds of meaning. The same set of sequence of shots arranged differently will have a different impact. The same sequence of shots arranged differently will have a different impact. Hagirovaga, I would recommend that even if you cannot work with a film completely, the one thing that most upcoming filmmakers should do, yes, there is enough material on YouTube, go through it, go through all the interviews, see it, but at least try and work with an editor of a film once. Sit with an editor, because it takes patience. And cinema takes patience. Absolutely. One of the things that you need to learn in cinema more than anything else is patience. Okay. And editing will teach you patience. Right. If you have a really good editor who is very strict, like the kind of editors I work with, like Chidu, Sridhar and Haridas, ಅವ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೈದ್ರು ನನಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾನು ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. They used to scold me about not keeping my list right. If I went and assisted, they would tell me, why has not this shot been taken? Because alli, that is where if that shot is not there, the sequence can win or lose. Right. So learning from an editing table is very important. The rest of it, yes, will happen.
Great. How do I budget a project? So I have a vague knowledge of how do you actually work. ಈಗ say for example, ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ರೆಡಿ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ as soon as I meet a producer, the first thing they'll ask is 2 questions. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಎಷ್ಟಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? So what is your plan of distribution? Where is it going? Well, these are the main three questions that any producer would ask. I'll come to it later. But budgeting ಗೆ what are the best tips that you can? How do I budget a project? ಈಗ ನಾನು ಕತೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಸೇ ಒಂದು 90 minutes ಕತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನೇ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. So apart from remuneration and all, okay, I know how to calculate and things like that. Mainly on the marketing part, distribution part, and how do I budget a project?
See, cinema is budgeted essentially on the number of days of shooting. So every day of shoot costs so much.
Right.
The cameraman, camera, unit, food, all those things put together costs X amount of money. And that into how many days you are going to shoot is the shooting budget.
Right.
Then there is post-production budget, and then there is pre-production budget.
Right.
Pre-production budget would involve how much do you have to pay as an advance to your writers.
Right.
If your locations are across the country or across the world, then traveling charges. Then if you have to have a very interesting challenge in terms of casting, okay.
Right.
If you can't find the if you have written characters that you will not normally find in the market. For example, if you have written a transgender character, okay, or if you have written, say, an old person, a very old person, a 90-year-old person.
Right.
Now you can't, you from whatever you have, you will not immediately find those actors.
Yeah.
You'll have to audition. You'll have to find out. So that there will be a costing. So casting, location planning, logistics, scripting. That is one component.
Right.
That is called pre-production.
Right.
That again varies from film to film. Something like Bahubali will probably cost
Right.
a lot of money, even pre-production. And Bahubali perhaps cost much more in post-production than it costs in shooting.
Right.
And then there is, of course, like I said, shooting. A usual industry figure would be between 2 to 3 lakhs per day is the shooting budget.
Okay. Per day.
But recently I had gone to Upendra sir's shooting. There, I heard that per day they were spending 15 lakhs because they had every day 500 extras, they had sets.
You're talking about UI, that new
UI.
Okay.
So, when we say ballpark figure, this is the usual.
Average.
But then there are also people who shoot for 50,000 rupees.
Okay.
Who are very efficient. Like something like you're planning a film like what is it? 7 minus 5.
6 minus 5 is equal to 2.
Is equal to 2. There the whole economics will change. Right? It depends on your skill.
Correct. Okay.
So pre-production, production, post-production.
Right. Right.
And usually your budget is made for the first copy. When I say first copy, it means that how much does it cost to get the first print of the film out?
Right. Right.
Okay. Then there is publicity and release.
Right.
That is a separate thing. Now there will be people like Ekta Kapoor who will make a 1 crore film and spend 3 crores on marketing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or there are a lot of people who will spend 2 crores on the film, but will only spend 20,000 on the marketing. No? So that is the problem. The priority of the producer and how the producer wants to position the product usually is not in the director's hand.
Right. That brings me to a great question which came now. Nim prakara, what is the percentage of the chunk of budget should go to marketing of a project in terms of percentage?
See, KGF showed us what great marketing can do.
Right.
It was not only did they spend on making the film well, they spent on marketing it really well. They started brand positioning it from the day they started shooting. Though it took 3 years to make the film, 3 years we never stopped hearing about this film.
Right.
Okay. So ideally, at least 30% of your total budget. If your film is going to cost 10 crores, keep 3 crores for the marketing. Because marketing is very essential. Today, films are fighting with all kinds of visual content.
Right.
And for you to go out there and tell the audience that there is this product and you have to see it, to bring him, your challenge is actually to bring the audience for the first 2 days. After that, if your content is good, the rest of it will happen on its own.
Yeah.
But to bring the audience to the theatre is a very huge challenge.
Right.
So I think 30% at least any producer should keep earmark for the marketing of the film.
Right. ಸೊ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಕೊನೆ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಗೇವ್ ರೈಸ್ ಟು ಅನದರ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಮುಂಚೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮೇಕರ್ಸ್ ನನ್ನ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದೇನೆಂದರೆ, ಇವಾಗ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಥಿಯೇಟ್ರು, ಈ ರೀಜನ್ನು, ಈ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇರೋದು ಒಬ್ಬರು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನೋರಿಗೆ. ನಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ಈ ರೀಜನ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಒಂದು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅ ಬ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವೇರ್ ದೇ ಸೆಲ್ ದ ಸಿನಿಮಾ. Post pandemic, the changes that have happened because of the the audience theatre ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, has that strategy even at the making time ಅಲ್ಲಿ have they started thinking differently, like OTT ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ, ಅಥವಾ what is the theatre ಕತೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ how those strategies have changed in a director's mind
actually very strange things happened after the pandemic. In fact, the kind of hits that we saw after the pandemic, we had not even dreamed of before.
Right.
Like the kind of hit that Kantare saw, or KGF saw, or Robert, Pogaru. ಈ ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳು ನೋಡೋದಂಥ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳು ಮುಂಚೆ ನೋಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಪ್ಯಾಂಡಮಿಕ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಜನ ಥಿಯೇಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಬರೋದು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳಿಗೆ, ಆದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳು ಹಿಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಆ ರೀತಿ ಹಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ಯಾಂಡಮಿಕ್ ಮುಂಚಿಂದನೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಈಗಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನಂದರೆ, ವೆನ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಬಿಗ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಟೆರಿಟರಿ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಇಸ್ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಇಂಟು 7 territories. Okay, Bangalore is called BKT, Bangalore, Kolar, Tumkur. Mysore is called Mysore, Mandya, Coorg, Hassan. Okay, there is Hyderabad, Karnataka, etc. So you have 7 major territories. When you make a film with a Darshan or a Dhruva Sarja or Yash, or one of those big actors, there are 5 or 6 big actors. If you make it with them, the film will do what is called a stable business. Which is that there will be distributors who come and say, we will buy this region for this much, this region for this much. But when you don't have a big star, then you have to depend on 2 sources. One is OTT and satellite rights. And OTT and satellite rights were picking up in 2019-2020. Because of the pandemic, what happened was that, and also because in Kannada we are a very unique place, we make about 400 films every year. There are only 365 days in a year, but we make about 400 films a year. Okay, so imagine how many films got made. Okay, and in 2 years of the pandemic, all those films were held up. Okay, before that OTT used to buy, so they used to choose, pick, and they would offer a certain amount and buy films. The minute the pandemic came, and then when the film theaters opened again, the whole queue of films were available for OTT networks. So a film that they had to earlier pay 100 rupees for, the producer was so desperate to sell the film that he was ready to sell it for 40 rupees. So OTTs used that opportunity and started paying much less than they used to before. Because of that, what films used to get from OTTs, even now after the queue is getting cleared out, the rates that you get from OTT channels have come less. And there are 2 models in OTT acquisition. One is acquisition, where they buy a film for X amount of money. The other is pay-per-view model. And the third is a hybrid model. Acquisition is where they pay you X amount of money outright, and they buy the rights for it in perpetuity. The hybrid model is where they pay you X amount of money for X number of months. Till then it becomes theirs, and then the rights comes back to you. You can buy, sell it anywhere else. The third model is pay-per-view, where they will not pay you any money. They will put it on their OTT network, and for every view you get a share. So most of the films nowadays are going by the pay-per-view model, because OTT is not willing to pay upfront.
They don't have risk of paying initially.
Right.
Once you have your script ready, ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, what are the ways for a person? I'm not talking about a guy who has only an idea. I'm talking about a guy who has an idea plus who has written a script, proper script. What are the ways that they can go in? The second part of the question is how to pitch their product. What is the best way to pitch a product?
Navella said we had started something called as Filmmakers United Club, and one of the things that we wanted to do was that any one of us who has done at least 5 films, if a member of the public, general public, who has written a script wants to come and narrate his story to us and wants our opinion, we had tried to do a system where people can pay at one central point and choose which director he wants to meet, and that director will give the person 1 hour. So that, what happens as a director is that every day there are at least 20-30 people wanting to meet you, tell you their stories. And we are also busy with our work. And our time is our money. So it is not possible to just keep on meeting people unless they come from some kind of recommendation, and even then it is very difficult. So the idea what a few of us discussed was, why do you want to do it as a free job? Do it as a consultancy.
Absolutely.
Sit and listen to the story and charge for it. But of course that never got off the ground.
Never took off.
Off. But if someday somebody does it, it will be good. There needs to be a space like that. There needs to be a place where people can write and go and show somebody and get professional feedback about the script. Something like a script lab.
Correct.
I don't know who will create that, but if one of the big production houses create it, it will help them, because then they'll get so much content that they can then decide to produce. What is the best way to pitch to a producer? There are many ways. One of the regular form, I'm talking about what is the established ways that directors follow. Usually what directors do is they go and tell their story to a star. Okay. If you get a big star interested, then producers will automatically come to you.
Everything follows.
So that is for a commercial film. That is the regular pattern that most people do. Go catch hold of a big star, get his time, narrate a story, and if he is excited and says yes to your project, then the producers will come. The other is, if you are an established director yourself, you have made a name, and then you take a story and you pitch it to a producer and say, this is what I have. And if the producer gets interested, then the third way is, if you are working with an established director, and because that director has already given so many hits, and you have worked with that director for a couple of years, then there is some kind of trust in you. The fact that you have been an understudy to that director, they feel that okay, he'll have learned something from him, that
little weightage.
Trust. There's some weightage. So these are the 3 established ways of pitching. There are many other ways of pitching, but these are the established.
Just a sub question to that. ಈಗ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕತೆ ಬರೀತಾನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಾ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ಲಿ ಕತೆನ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ಕ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ರೆಡಿ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ವಾಟ್ ಜನರಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಟು ಬಿ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅವರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್.
I don't think of actors when I write my script. I think of characters. I think of characters from real life. I'll have seen an inspector, a very peculiar police inspector. So I'll be writing thinking of that police inspector. I'll have seen somebody, a politician. I'll have seen an idealistic professor. So I will keep those people in mind and write it. And when I cast, I will try and find people who match that person in real life. That is my approach. There are different directors who approach it differently. I know a director who says, when he is writing the script, he doesn't care about who is going to finally act, but when he is writing the script, he will think of the best possible actor for a role. So if he is writing the father's role, he will think of Amitabh Bachchan. If he is thinking of a brother, he will think of Shah Rukh Khan. He knows that Shah Rukh Khan will not play the brother, or he will not get Amitabh Bachchan to play the father. But that doesn't matter to him.
It will help the flow.
Right? So that it helps him write the best. ಇವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರೀತಾರೆ. Then there are others who stitch it for the actor. Karthik Subbaraj, for example, when he made Peta, he completely tailored it for Rajnikant. My friend Murugadas is an expert at doing that. For any big star that he works with, he gives that big star the biggest success in his career. What he does is, before he makes a film for a star, he studies all the stars' films.
His all older films.
That stars films and looks for what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses, and then he'll prepare a
character
script that is
developed.
perfect for that actor.
Okay.
So that
It's
each
based on
person has a-
complete R&D approach.
Correct. Somebody like Girish Kasturali will work completely differently. For example, he will write a script and then he will cast a very popular actress from the yesteryears into a role which is very serious.
Mm.
He'll never have imagined that this actress can play this role.
Okay.
But he pulls it off wonderfully.
Right. ಓಕೆ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್, ನೀವು ಬರೆಯೋ ಪ್ರತಿ ಕಥೆನ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ನ ಡು ಯು ಲೀಗಲಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಇಟ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಪಿ ರೈಟ್?
Yeah. See, I will tell you. This is something that everybody should follow.
Okay.
This is a synopsis that somebody sent me.
Okay.
It has a watermark which says SWA, Screenwriters Association. Okay, and below this you will find registered in SWA and there's a number.
Registration number.
Registration number.
Yeah.
So there is an organization called Screenwriters Association.
Okay.
And if you look for Screenwriters Association India in Google, you will find it. Once you go there, you have to register yourself and become a member. You will get something called as an associate membership. And then after a certain period of being an associate member, then you become a permanent member.
Okay.
And there, for a very minimum charge, once you write a script, you are supposed to convert it into a PDF. And there's a link there, it's all online. You go there and you upload the PDF of your script.
Okay.
And you will get a copy of that with this watermark and a number.
Right.
And it gets into that database.
Yeah.
The thing is that you don't even have to write a full script for it.
Okay. Synopsis.
You can write 2 pages of a gist.
Okay.
Or like this is just a synopsis that gets there. Right? And now you can see I have a whole script here.
Okay.
There's a full script.
Oh, okay.
This is another person who said. But everybody, that's the norm.
Okay.
That you become a member of SWA, you register your script there. In fact, if you go to an OTT, an established OTT or a channel, until you have done this, they will not even consider your project.
Yeah.
Because they are afraid that tomorrow somebody will come and say,
Claim
this is my copy.
So my sub question to that is that standardized? Everybody follow the same organization, or are there more bodies like that?
No, more and more people.
In India, SWA is what everybody generally.
There are various states which have their writers associations and so on, but I don't think that is productive.
Yeah.
It's better to have one organization that everybody agrees.
So it's easy to compare and settle the so-called whatever conflict. Yeah. This is a specific question. For my first project which I was writing, after my first draft, I was stuck. I could make out that it is coming to 45. I was not able to reduce it. So on that time, what do you recommend? Should I stretch it and make it to anywhere closer to 90 minutes, or should I definitely cut it and make it a short version?
See, usually there's one established saying in all writing, not just cinema writing, all writing. The first draft is a point of departure, okay, which means that when you have written the first job, that is when the actual writing begins. It is not when the writing ends.
Yeah. That's good.
ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಕಾರ್ನಾಡ್ ಬರುತ್ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋರು. ಬರುತ್ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಳಗಿರೋದನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದು ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೀನಿ ಈಗ ಪೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ. ಈಗ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೆತ್ತನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. You have to chisel it, you have to make it shorter, you have to move it around. The beautiful possibilities of writing unfold after the first draft is made.
Right.
So, if you have a 45-minute film, usually I would say that if the first draft is 45 minutes, it means that it will end up becoming a 20-minute film. If you cut, because you will not realize when you're writing, everything seems beautiful. It is your baby, right?
Correct.
If anybody, their baby is the most beautiful. Its nose is brilliant, its eyes are brilliant, its lips are. There's nothing wrong with the baby, right? But at least, luckily, with the script, you can actually change it and make it better.
Yeah.
So, with a script, always you need to cut and you need to slice it, you need to chisel it, you need to make it crisp. And only then you will end up with a very, whatever you make, people should feel like, I want to watch a little more. When you go to a good movie,
Right.
when the movie gets over,
Less
you
is
feel,
more.
Yeah, you feel, it could have been a little more. Hollywood has perfected it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in Indian films, still, most films, you feel, okay, enough, I've had it, I've got it. Let us
Give
go.
them too
But
much
you still
and
keep
yeah.
on going on.
Yeah.
So, I would always say that if you are making a feature film, if you end up with a 300 page script, and then you have to cut it down to 100 pages, then you have got a good script.
Right.
I will tell you from my own personal experience. When Agnishrita wrote Adinagadu, and he read out the first draft, it came to around 4 hours.
Wow.
Okay. Then we said no, we have to cut it. And there were such brilliant scenes in that 4-hour thing. It was so difficult to say which will we let go. It looked so good. And then, but we said no, we should only make it into a 2-hour film. So he cut it down, and then he gave another reading. The second reading had come to 3 hours. Okay. At that point, it looked like it can't be cut any further. But we said, no matter what happens, we have to cut it down. And finally, the third reading, it came to about 2 hours, and the film finally came to 2 hours 10 minutes. Now, whatever is the script length, you should add space for pauses, music, etc.
Right.
So a 2-hour film will become 2 hours 10 minutes or 2 hours 15 minutes.
Okay.
So what happened ultimately is that in Adinagadu you can see so much story in just those 2 hours. That is when the audience seems to get what we call as paisa vasool.
Correct. Yeah, especially the cuts were very precise. ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ people can fill up through their image. That I could definitely see in Adinagadu.
That is something I followed for all my films after that. Right? Cut, and then give a reading to your team. Then let them tear it apart. Okay. Then again, you take those inputs and again repair the script. Again give a reading. So there's no hurry to actually go and shoot.
Right.
Take time to make your script.
Okay.
If you make your script efficiently, shooting is going to happen like that.
Right. Pre-production is actually the proper foundation of it. Yeah. Definitely. So I'm going to ask a $1 million question now. After making 9-10 films now successfully Madi, is there any secret to your judgment new on project Nodi? Okay, this is good. Is there any method to filmmaking? What is your judgment parameters?
See, one of the biggest problems is that people become possessive about their writing. They think that what they have written is carved in stone and it cannot be changed. But film is not made for yourself. Poem is written for yourself. Modern art is done for yourself. Okay?
Right.
You can even probably write a novel for yourself because it doesn't matter, only publisher and you lose money.
Yeah.
But film takes a lot of money, so it means that you need to recover that money. So it has to be treated like a product. And how do you make the best product? Follow how they make a good toothpaste, follow how they make a good soap, follow how they make a good soft drink. They make it, they test it. How do you test it? You test it with your team. If your team itself is not convinced with what you've written, you have to be very careful. And first of all, develop that kind of approachability in your personality where anybody should be able to tell you, this is wrong. You've not written a good a lot of directors, they become terrifying to their team. So the team is not able to be frank with them.
Right.
And especially when you become successful in 1 or 2 films, it's even worse. Because then you're God. Nobody wants to talk against God. That never works. Your cameraman, your editor, your whoever is in your team, your production person, production manager, your actors, all of them should be able to tell you, this is not working, this is not good, this is not right. So number one, your team should first give you their inputs. Take that, make it better. Then the other best people that the director should bounce the script off is other directors.
Okay.
Because each director has a different approach.
Right.
So go to your other colleagues, directors. And luckily I have so many. When Yogaraj Bhatt writes a script, he calls me and he talks to me about it. I discuss with Jaitirtha. I discuss with
you guys do that?
Giriraj. We do it.
ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು ಕತೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ peers ಹತ್ರ you discuss.
ನಾವು ಗಿರಿರಾಜ್ ಒಂದು ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಬರೆದಾಗ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂತಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾನು, ಗುರು ದೇಶಪಾಂಡೆ, ಶಶಾಂಕ್, we were all there. And after he finished reading it, we all again tore it apart. Because that is the whole idea. The idea is not to sit and say, yes sir,
all good things,
3 bags full, wonderful film. No. We want to do the tearing up of your film before the audience tears it up. Right? So, first of all, develop an approach where you don't get possessive about your work. Be open to criticism. Let anybody tell you what they think about your film. It is better that people tell you before you make it than the audience tells you after you. That is, I think, even after that, some films fail.
Right.
Even after this exercise, it might fail. But at least you have given it your
You've
best.
done some, yeah. If budget is no constraint to you, if somebody offers you unlimited budget, what would be the kind of movies that you want to make? Probably the next 3 movies you would want to make as a Kannada director.
For me, if there's no budgetary constraint, the one film that has to be made, which has never been made properly, is the Mahabharata. So the one film that is a dream for any Indian. We have seen them making Lord of the Rings, we've seen Bahubali, but how come nobody has made the Mahabharata, the greatest
Epic.
work ever in the history of mankind?
Right.
Nobody has been able to make.
Awesome.
Not one film, you can make at least 15-20 movies out of it.
It's a sequels of sequels.
And nobody has been able to do justice to it.
Absolutely. That too in today's technology, the kind of CG work, VFX, beautiful. For the first time probably in a long time, they're looking towards Kannada film industry. So how do you feel as an industry insider? Hey, what is the status of Kannada industry as of now?
See, to put it very frankly, for a very long time we looked up to Telugu cinema, okay, and a little lesser extent at Tamil cinema. We didn't look at Malayalam cinema very seriously, I feel. So what has happened is that whatever you manifest, you get. Now Kannada film has become great in presentation. You have films that are grand, that are visually superb, and so on. But really, are we making great content? I don't think we are still there. I think there is a Kantara which is okay. I mean, it's a great hit and all that, but at least it's a film which had content. How many Kannada films really have the kind of content that Malayalam cinema has? Yeah. I think that should be our way ahead, because we can't keep competing with Telugu cinema. Telugu cinema has a big audience, has a big market. Yes, films like KGF and Kantara have broken new ground and have gone to bigger markets. But really for us, we have a smaller market. And because we have a smaller market, it should be content driven, smaller budget films, and they should be the KGF kind of big grand films. So there should be 2 kinds of films.
Right.
I don't think we still give enough importance to writing. We give more importance to making.
Right.
And ultimately a film is its story. I think we are yet to get there.
Okay. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬರವಣಿಗೆನ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಓಕೆನಾ, ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಬರವಣಿಗೆನ ನೀವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? I know you would want to do both.
ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ. If somebody has written a wonderful script, then I would like to direct it. Because I don't usually get great scripts, it usually makes sense for me to sit and
forces you to write and
hard
make
work.
it. Yeah. Okay.
And also I collaborate a lot with. I've done 4 films which are not my stories at all. They were all remakes. They were done in other languages very well in the original language. When I took it, I tried to do something different with it for my language. But nowadays I'm working on a lot of novels that I'm converting into, because essentially I come from a literary family. My father is a writer, my grandfather is a writer. So now I'm focusing on taking novels and adapting them into films. That is my journey.
Super. ನನ್ನ ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ನಾನು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಐಡಿಯಾ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಸಂಬಡಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೀ, ವಾಟ್ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಯುವರ್ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಲಿ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ? ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ನಂಗೆ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದಾದರೆ ಆನೆಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ.
See, make your short film. Okay. That's a very good thing. Because when you make, you will confront good things and bad things about you. you will realize which are you strong at, which are the things that you need to work on. So making is definitely good. Try not to spend too much. Don't burn your hands, because a lot of good filmmakers have bad experiences in the beginning, and then they get so scared that they don't make anymore. Adakbar. Reserve your resources for the bigger game.
Right.
Use this as net practice.
Right.
And like I said, try and work with one or two filmmakers. See, if you work with a filmmaker, it is not necessary that you learn good things from him. You'll also learn how not to make a film sometimes.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you work with a director, you'll see all the wrong things that he's doing, and you'll realize how much better it can be done also.
Absolutely.
So work with people,
Right.
because you will see the process.
Right.
And like I said, editing is a very important, post-production is a very important place.
Right.
And especially today, a lot of the film is done on the editing table.
Right.
You can shoot against a green screen and stitch 5 waterfalls together and make a
Absolutely.
huge thing there. So a person today, a director today has to understand post-production perfectly. And that is where you have to really start. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನಲಲ್ಲೇ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ನೀವು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು.
ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಐ ಥಾಟ್ ಓಕೆ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಐ ಡೂ ಇಟ್ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಬಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ
ಮಾಡಿ.
So, ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದಿತ್ತು ಇನ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಏನೋ ಬಜೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹೌ ಡು ಐ ಟಾಕ್ ಟು ಅ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಭಾಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಅನುಭವ. ಸುಮಾರು 9-10 ಸಿನಿಮಾಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರ್ದೇಶನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ KM ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಅವರು. ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮಯ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದೆ ನನ್ನ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯ. ಎಂತೆಂಥ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದರು, ಅವರ ಅನುಭವನ ಹಂಚ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಒಬ್ಬ ಅನುಭವಿ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕನ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅದರಿಂದ ಸಿಗೋ ಪಾಠನೇ ಭಾಳ ದೊಡ್ಡದು.